Okay, so we're going to start with chapter one. And chapter one is a chapter that covers basically everything that we're going to do this semester. So it kind of gives you a brief introduction of what is to come and how the course is separated. It also talks about what is consumer behavior, why is it important for us to study consumer behavior, and what are the outcomes of studying this. Okay, so I've mentioned before that the course is separated into three sections. So we're going to start with the external influences, and then we have the internal influences as well. If you see this arrow, it's moving in both directions because both of them affect each other. Take learning, for instance. Learning is an internal influence. However, you learn from others, right? So others are external. So it's kind of hazy in that respect of whether it's external or internal. All of these lead to the creation of your self-concept and your lifestyle, and how your lifestyle is how you lead your life. And together these affect your needs and desires, your wants as well. So this takes us to the decision process of buying something, which you've studied in marketing management. Consumer behavior is the study of individuals, groups, or organizations and the processes they use to select, secure, use, and dispose of products, services, experiences, or ideas to satisfy needs and the impacts that these processes have on the consumer and society. This is a lot of words. Probably this should be three separate sentences. However, it's basically talking about how individuals and organizations or groups have certain needs and how they go about securing these needs, why do they have these needs, and what happens after you fulfill these needs. So it's not just about the purchase, it's also about what happens before that leads to these needs. So everything from the internal and external environment, and what happens after your purchase. Are you satisfied? Are you not? In order to develop a successful marketing strategy, companies have to do a lot of consumer research and use behavior theory to develop their strategy.
There are various regulatory bodies that are meant to implement policies designed to protect and aid consumers. The Food and Drug Administration is one of them, and also the Nutrition Labeling and Education Act. They are in charge of making sure that the packaging of foods display the nutritional information in the facts panel. This is where you can see all the calories, the sugars, etc. While there's regulatory agencies that work well for food and medicine, the other industries like cleaning supply industry, makeup industry, cosmetics, and anything from personal care products like shampoo, conditioner, lotion that both men and female use as well, they're very highly unregulated. Also, essential oil industry is very low regulated. So a lot of brands take it upon themselves to regulate themselves and make sure that they don't have these ingredients that are toxic to our bodies. However, a lot of products that are out there have ingredients that really shouldn't be in our personal care routine. Just to give you an idea, in Europe, there's over 1,200 ingredients that are banned. And in the United States, there's only 12 that you shouldn't use. And it's very concerning because a lot of the products that companies like Procter & Gamble use, Unilever use to, have a nice scent or to make foaming for soaps and shampoos and all, they're really not good for us and can disrupt our endocrine system, lead to other health effects like cancer and allergens, etc. But there are companies out there that do, position themselves as a company that self-regulates and uses pure-grade ingredients. Some of these are, for instance, in skincare, you have Biosons. You also have a section in Sephora that says Environmental Working Group approved seal. That means that they're a clean product. Also, there's cruelty-free seals. That means that they do not test on animals or have like animal products on them. So there's some ways to kind of be able to identify what are the products that are kind of good that are good, safe to use. Social marketing, and we've talked about this in marketing management. If you've taken my class, we did a whole project on this, and this is basically a type of marketing that is meant to bring a positive change in society. So any marketing activity related to awareness of diseases, improvements of self-esteem, reducing drinking and driving, no driving and texting. All those campaigns are social marketing campaigns. And they're not only for organizations, although organizations are huge proponents of it, huge advocates of it. Companies like Nike, promoting equality, do this often in their branding. For instance, here you have the example of Always Like a Girl campaign, where they do a pretty neat study on how girls change after puberty, and the hashtag Like a Girl is meant to change the meaning of that into something positive and not derogatory. It's very important for us to study consumer behavior so that we can become informed individuals and understand how companies are doing can affect our behavior, and just to be smarter shoppers. Marketing strategy and the joining of consumer behavior. Right here, we have marketing strategy. This is all marketing strategy up to here. Here we start with consumer behavior and the consumer buying decision process. In the marketing analysis section, a company has to observe their strengths and their weaknesses. What are they really good at? If they develop a product, which ones of their competitors will be able to imitate this product or come up with a counter tactic for them to be competitive with you? And if they do, what is likely to be their move, and can they imitate this, and what would happen to your company if they actually go ahead and produce like a copycat product? You also have to consider the conditions of the market. What is inflation like? What is the economy looking like? What are the regulatory agencies that you might need to consider? What about tariffs? Is this going to affect you? Because sometimes there are laws that are passed that really do affect business. Is there a pandemic? All these things have to go into consideration. Basically, kind of understanding the consumer. Who is your consumer? What are your consumers' needs? What are the values of your consumer? What do they care about? All you have to really understand this in order to be able to cater to them. After a company has done market analysis through research, then they proceed to segment the market. They do this by identifying product-related needs, and then they group customers into sets that have those similar needs, describe each group, select an attractive segment to target. So basically, let's say that a car company is trying to segment the market into different groups. So you have your college students. Then you have your thrill seekers, which are basically people that are looking for like a fast luxury car, a fast ride, something exciting like that. And this may be like young adults, but it can also be adults that have had their kids leave for college and are looking for something else that is exciting in a car, and they no longer need like a bigger car to transport more people. So then they can group those late 20s, early 30s group with the late 40s, early 50s, or maybe not late 40s, more like 50s, range 60s. So those are some groups that have very similar needs. Then they can select which groups to target, what would be more effective, how big the group is, and we've talked all about this in marketing management. And then once they've selected a group to target, they develop their marketing strategy using the 4 Ps of product, price, place, and promotion. And then we start going into the actual consumer behavior process for each consumer. So the first 3 really have to do more with the firm, objective of the firm. And then these really have to do with the consumer. These are the steps for the consumer decision process. And then we evaluate the outcomes for the individual, the firm, and society. So for the individual, it could be satisfaction. Or dissatisfaction. For the firm, it could be increased sales, brand loyalty. And for society, it could be the promotion of healthier eating habits, for instance, or a decrease in soda sales. Again, market segmentation is a portion of a larger market whose needs differ from the larger market. So let's take people that would be interested in a Prius. They are looking for an electronic car to reduce their fuel emissions, and those needs are quite different from someone who would want to purchase a RAV4, which is meant more for, it's more like a sporty car. You could even take it off-roading. It's exciting, it's fun, and then someone who would be interested in a car like this probably won't be looking at the Camry, which is, it's like an upscale version of the Corolla, meant for, with a little more luxury-ish add-ons and whatnot. So very different consumers that would be searching for these cars. But the one thing that all of these cars have in common is their brand. Toyotas are known for being very reliable cars that will last a long time, and cars that won't be particularly expensive to repair any missing parts. Market segmentation involves 4 steps: identifying product-related need sets, grouping customers with similar need sets, describing each group, and selecting an attractive segment. When you describe each group, you try to kind of assess what are they like, what do they like to do, what is their lifestyle, what do they have, what are their values, etc. This is a segmentation based on the device where they're coming from in a particular page. So this is more like digital segmentation. Marketing strategy is the answer to the question, how will we provide superior customer value to our target market? This requires the formulation of a consistent marketing mix, which includes product, price, place, and promotion. Service is listed here, but as you know, we always group service with the product. So these are the outcomes for consumers, and they can go from superior value expected to the sales, so purchase, perceived value delivered, and all of this leads to customer satisfaction. Is the customer satisfied, yes or no? And it doesn't always lead to satisfaction. I'm sure there's been instances where you've been to a restaurant and the food wasn't really what you were expecting, so you were not satisfied. Some of the outcomes can also be considered injurious consumption, which basically means when consumers consume something that really isn't good for them. So some examples would be alcohol, fast food, soda, things that aren't really particularly good for us as consumers. These are the external influences that affect consumer behavior. So culture, which we'll look into chapter 2 in depthly, demographics and social stratification, ethnic, religious, and regional subcultures, families and households and groups. So notice how they're going from much bigger to smaller. Culture is by far one of the most important aspects of the external influences of consumers. And these are the internal influences that we'll be studying this semester. So we have perception, learning, memory, motives, personality, emotions, and attitudes. And this has a lot to do with psychology, and it's very interesting to learn more about this. And as I mentioned, culture is perhaps the most pervasive influence on consumer behavior. This is where we'll end the lecture. Thank you for listening.